Well, hello, everybody. Kimberly?
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us in the first of what Star University's Center for Christian Ministries webinar, what we're going to bring to you from the Virtual Christian Leadership Global Impact Conference series. I'm Professor Kimberly Gilliland. I'm the Dean of
And
Indigenous.
I'm Andrew Sikora.
And as you can tell, this is the first time we're doing a webinar together. Um, Go ahead, Andrew. Why don't you go ahead and introduce
No,
yourself?
no, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I just want to make sure that you don't forget about me. So, yeah,
I
yeah,
could
I'm
never
here.
forget
You
about
keep
you.
going. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
I'm Professor Kimberly Gilliland. I'm the Dean of Indigenous Studies Department, and I teach in media technology. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Dr. Andrew Sikora, award-winning filmmaker and Dean of Academics at Star University. So, as I mentioned earlier, today's webinar is part of the Virtual Christian Leadership Global Impact Conference series that is coming up in June 27th. The conference will host guest speakers from around the world and will actually have a live session at Super Church in Lagos, Nigeria. I will post more information about the conference at the end of the presentation and as well as in the comments. So today we're going to explore something that sits at the intersection of theology, storytelling, and technology. This is kind of a bit of a teaser of what you can expect at the conference. At Star University, we're asking some pretty simple questions. How do we communicate timeless truth in a way that people actually experience, not just understand it? And that's where character theology comes in. Dr. Sikora is also going to show you how we apply this using AI in media and specifically using the Apostle Paul series that was created by 3XM USA. So let's start with the problem. In many cases today, we are explaining when what people, especially young people, actually need to experience. Information is everywhere. We have more access to teaching than any generation before, but at the same time, transformation is becoming more rare. And perhaps more importantly, we're seeing growing disconnection, especially among young people. People are overwhelmed with content, but still feel disconnected from the truth, from others, and what we're often seeing from God. So the issue is not access to information. The issue is how that information is being communicated and is being consumed. So we're living in what we might call the age of art and heart. Communication today is very emotionally driven. It's visual first and it's deeply relational. People don't start with logic, they start with feeling. They don't just want to be told something is true, they want to experience that truth. And this shift has massive implications for how we teach, disciple, and communicate the gospel. If we don't adapt to this reality, we risk speaking clearly but not being heard. So, what is character theology? There's an interesting book that discusses this in great detail by Tom Shefflin and Ray New called Character Theology: Engaging God Through His Cast of Characters. We'll provide that link in the comments. At its core, it's very simple. Character theology is engaging God through his people, reading scripture through story, and understanding truth through lived experience. Instead of starting with abstract ideas, we start with people with real struggles, real choices, and real consequences. Because scripture doesn't just give us concept, it gives us lives. And those lives reveal theology in a way that is tangible, relatable, and memorable. So, how does this work? Character theology is built on one key idea. Characters reveal theology. Truth is not just stated, it is embodied. Ethics are not just taught, they are demonstrated. Faith is not just defined, it is lived. So think about it. We don't learn faith best from a definition. We learn it by watching somebody trust God in uncertainty. We don't learn leadership from a list. We learn it from observing how someone leads under pressure. This is how scripture is designed to work. So, this leads us to an important contrast: story versus explanation. Stories often show, not tell, demonstrate, not define, invite, not instruct. They create, encounter, and not just analyze. Explanation has its place, but explanation alone often stays in the mind. Stories move to the heart. And when somebody reaches both the heart and the mind, it's far more likely to stay and to shape them and to transform them. So what's important. This is not a new idea. The Bible is already story driven. Narrative dominates scripture, and characters carry meaning. And God reveals himself through people, from Abraham to David to Paul. We don't just learn what God says, we see how God works in real lives. So, character theology is not innovation, it's actually a return to the way scripture was always meant to engage. So, this brings us to something very important: how people actually remember and internalize truth. Story anchors meaning and memory. It uses emotion, it uses imagery, and it creates something that can be retold. This is what we call orality oriented approach. For what for most of history and still in many cultures today, people don't primarily learn through text. And we see this where we work all over the world. The gospel is an oral story which has, let me say this in a different way. The gospel is an oral story which was transferred to print after many generations of oral storytellers. They learn through story, repetition, and experience. And what's interesting is in today's digital world, we're actually returning to that. And that's often hard for especially our young students to see. But when we put it into a different context, we can look at short videos and visual storytellings through reels. These are modern forms of orality. So when we use story, we're not just being creative, we're aligning with how people naturally learn, remember, and share the truth. So, why does this matter right now? Because we are in a unique moment where technology allows us to bring story to life in ways that we have never seen before. Visual storytelling is now scalable. AI allows us to reconstruct historical environments to actually step into the world of scripture. And media allows us to share these stories globally and instantly. So, what we're doing is bringing together ancient truth with modern tools, not just to explain scripture, but to help people experience it. And this is exactly where our work at Star University is focused. So I'm going to hand things over to Dr. Sikora when he talks about one of the projects that he has been instrumental in designing. It's the Apostle Paul story with 3XM International.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. Thank you for the overview of what we are trying to do here. And I will take it from here and talk about more practical and technical aspects of character theology. So, how does it really look? Really look like in practice? So we are very fortunate to work with other ministry organizations and that allow us to produce courses and production. And one of them is Apostle Paul in Ancient Corinth series, which was created with 3XM International. So instead, as Kimberly said earlier, instead of teaching theology as a very abstract concept, we follow real people in real moments. So how does it work? We start with a story, with a script, and then connect real and artificial intelligence generated subjects and objects. So we enter their world from 2000 years ago, their challenges, their decision, and their relationship. It is becoming real. We use real footage from locations like Corinth in Greece, for example, and then we combine with AI reconstruction. Well, what we're trying to do is to bring the first century, the world of early first millennium, into the world, the time when Paul was crossing uh, the seas and traveling between Asia Minor and Rome. So all through this, our viewers just don't learn about Paul or Phoebe or any other character or the early our early church. They actually beginning to experience this story. So through this experience, they encounter the theology which is embedded within it. So we started with Phoebe, and Paul is of course also in the story. Paul is in every story, not as a main character, uh, but as a supporting character when we're trying to discuss Aquila and Priscilla, Gaius or Crispus. Uh, mm, One of the stories is just about Paul in Athens when he is discussing and talking to philosophers uh, in ancient Greece. So in our series, Apostle Paul series, we just don't begin by saying today we're going to learn about leadership or today we're going to study unity of the early church. So we just follow those individuals. We meet Phoebe, we observe Aquila and Priscilla, and we encounter Gaius through his baptism. So the theology begins, we believe, begins to emerge naturally through their actions, through their words. We are not trying to force it or over-explain it. So, because often when truth is embodied in a person, it becomes something we can see, something we can feel, and something we can remember. So this is the power of a character-driven storytelling. All right. So how do we do it? How do we create it? Where do we go? And how we help ourselves with reconstruction of the world from 2000 years ago, and how we are using narrative scripting here. Well, we begin with the course creation. We create the course that is destined. It's destined for seekers and disciple makers and the trainers. And once we develop the whole concept, then we can move to the specific videos that are supporting the written materials in this course. But they also stand on its own. So we pick up our characters that can stand, as I said, as its own productions, videos, but also they at the same time support our more lengthy teaching materials. We have three, of course, three stages of production, which is known to probably most people in the world. It's pre-productions, then we have production, then we have post-production. It's self-explanatory, and then we have a distribution when the video's finished. So we always start with research that's sometimes very lengthy, and then script development, which can take a lot of time. Uh, with script development, we work together. Kimberly and I, we work very closely together. Um, uh, Kimberly develops the early versions of the story, um, and then we try to shape it together with visual ideas. And once the visualization comes into it, the script is being adapted. And eventually, it becomes what we call shooting script, which includes real footage, uh, real images, and of course, a lot of AI generated imagery.
So Dr. Sakura, I have a quick question for you, which I think a lot of people would probably ask is because
Mm.
you mentioned that both of us do collaborate on this. What do you think is the most challenging aspect of collaborating on a script for a project like this?
Um, it's probably the limitation in having access to the real footage. That's what I would say. It's the number one limitation. So the best ideas sometimes are crushed when we cannot support them with visuals. That was always the most difficult part of visual creations. But today we have AI. So it's much easier these days to uh, kind of support the ideas that you can really work on in the early stages, as I mentioned, and yeah, we can produce films that we couldn't produce just a few years ago or even a year ago, since the moving images in AI were very primitive still. So the world has changed dramatically in the last 1 year. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. I was just curious what you thought was the most challenging aspect. I mean, when you collaborate with other people on any project, especially a project that, like we've talked earlier, is so rooted in scripture, but we don't have access to content. I know when I start out with the creative process, oftentimes, like what you mentioned, I I come up with ideas that can't be visually or could not in the past 5 years ago, let's say, couldn't be visually recreated. But now with AI, everything's, wide open.
Yeah, but as you know very well, the most difficult part of creation is the actual collaboration between two creative people. So that's the main challenge, where main challenge lays when two people are fighting over their ideas. I don't think we have these problems. But I think we are mature producers and we are doing pretty well. What did you say?
Well, we're certainly
So,
mature.
yes, definitely, yeah. And we're not going to argue here during the webinar. So
No,
yeah,
absolutely not. We'll save that for
thank
later.
you. Let's move. Okay, well, moving on. Moving on. You can see on the picture here, Kimberly help very involved, insisting on carrying the heaviest equipment um, to the top of one of the ancient locations that we were shooting. And so this was the pre-production. Uh, there was pre-production where we acquired the footage that later will be used in the editing process. The post-production is where the magic happens when the emotions are being, the emotion of the struggle of our characters must come to light and must influence our viewers in a way, in a positive way, the way the gospel intended to. So once we edit, and we are editing this images in various softwares. We work with Adobe, Photoshop. We work with editing softwares like Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere, or DaVinci. And once we have it all finished, we create versions of international English language version, and then we, after that, editing localized content for various countries that we work with in Africa and Asia. This sometimes could be challenging since each language has different sort of length. Japanese, for example, is I would say almost 30% longer sometimes, and some other languages take less time for certain sentences. So it comes with practice, and so you create your version in such a way that leaves room for those different language adaptations. Yeah, so that's the overall the process, production, creative process, and then at the end we are distributing the video. And as I said earlier, they're included in our courses on different LMS platforms, and then also stand alone in using social media as we call them mini courses. Yeah, probably what's in today's filmmaking is the most controversial and at the same time the most exciting is the AI creation. Personally, I'm using ChatGPT, Gemini, Midjourney, and Artlist, and various other online platforms to create images that later are being used for generating video, or they can stand alone and be just images that we match with our real life footage. You can see here in the background, this is the Midjourney platform. It could be very challenging time-wise when you create AI images in a current world, so temporary images, it's much easier to do that with AI. There's a lot of references. When you work with historical characters and the world, and to keep consistency of those characters, meaning that the person looks the same in every shot and every sequence, very challenging, very time consuming. And the better the tool, the more expensive, of course. So it can cost a lot of money to produce historical videos. You can do this probably with less money, but it's going to take you much more time. So this is we will need some questions here if there are any. So I would love to answer. I am a believer of more interactive conversation. Otherwise, I can talk for maybe too long on one particular subject. I would then move. No questions. So I'm going to move to
Well, actually,
my
Dr.
final.
Sikora,
Oh,
Dr. Sikora,
thank
there
God
are
somebody's
questions.
asking questions.
So the comment is in regard to
Yes.
actually reforming all of this content because some of the examples you gave looked like they were longer form video. So the question was, how does character theology fit into social media and short form video?
Oh
How can
yeah.
you tell the story in 15 to 30 seconds?
Well, it is amazing. We have an amazing audience that is trained and expects to see short forms, not long. So, as our viewer today recently, but that's what I was reading. It's about the 40 seconds to 1 minute. It's the maximum that most young viewers can keep their attention span while watching videos. So this is the perfect timing, around 1 minute. And those quick short videos, they could be emotional. They're with the right visual movements and a right story. It will actually fit very well for character theology and what we're trying to do here. So you can teach a lot in 30 seconds or 1 minute, but you can show much more. The old saying is, the picture speaks of 1,000 words. That's what we are also trying to achieve here, to catch a moment of someone's life 2,000 years ago that very often reflect our current struggles, uh, the decision they have to make, and the turning point when they are making the right or wrong decision. So those moments carries the truth in a way that most people can immediately connect and then share with others. Yeah, so thank you for this question, Kimberly. And yeah, so here we go. What the viewers' experiences. Yeah, so once again, we are not trying to uh, lecture them. We want them to experience. So they want to experience conflict, the relationship, the transformation. So this is my last slide before Kimberly takes over. How do we go from theory to practice? And why this matter? So character theology is not just a concept; it is a method. It matters because we reach non-traditional learners. It works very, very good across different cultures, and it bridges both the digital and real life discipleship. So, to summarize, why and the how and the process, why is we bring relevance, the how is we apply practical shift from theoretical, and the process is simple and repeatable. So, and that's very important in discipleship making, is to be able to repeat the process and move forward and move from one uh, country to another. All right, looks like it's time for Kimberly.
Thank you. We have a number of questions coming in, but before we start to answer those, I think I will go ahead and we'll finish up with the slide. So, what is the outcome to all of this? Well, it's transformation. It's not just learning, it's not just understanding, but hopefully it's something deeper. When people engage with the truth through story, they don't just process it intellectually. They begin to feel it, to relate to it, to see themselves in it. And that's what makes it stay. Because at the end of the day, if people remember the truth, they carry the truth. What's our next slide? Oh, okay. So
If
before
you
we
want to go
answer a question,
deeper,
yeah,
yeah.
we do. Do you want to go deeper? So as I mentioned at the beginning of of this webinar, is that this is just the introductory to what is going to be part of the Christian Leadership Global Impact Conference on June 27th. It is going to be free and there will be live sessions held in Lagos, Nigeria. So if you're kind of interested in what we had to talk about today, we are going to go a lot deeper at the conference. We'll see actual examples of the videos as well as the full creation process. But now let's go ahead and answer some of the questions that came in. This is actually one for you, Dr. Sikora. I thought it's actually a good question. From one of the pastors, they are concerned about the size of their team, and they wanted to know, do I need high-end production to do this well?
Well, the answer is no. So it's obviously it's nice to have high-end equipment and cameras and produce high quality videos, but and have big studios and so forth. But the beauty of AI is that we can create incredible high quality videos with a stroke of not a pen but keyboard, and with the right prompt, we can recreate those scenes that I was talking about. It could be it doesn't need to be historical, modern scenes as well, that are so needed in evangelization and discipleship. So mm, today, with just a smartphone, with the iPhone, some of the iPhones are as high quality as the professional cameras. Nothing more is needed to create very high quality productions.
Thank you. So I have a couple more questions that came in. I might actually field part of this one. The question is this just entertainment rather than real discipleship? And so because I work with a number of teams around the world, I do work on developing social media strategy for ministry teams. And often my role in that development strategy is to work what we would say at the top of the evangelical funnel. So I think I'll repeat the question, is this just entertainment rather than real discipleship? And I think that's a fair question. Entertainment alone doesn't lead to discipleship, but engagement opens the door to it. Character theology is not the end goal by any means, it's the entry point. It helps people connect, understand, and remember. From there, this is where we still really need, it's not a replacement for community. It's just part of teaching. And it helps people reconnect, real life. It's a bridge, not a replacement, but it is the content with purpose. We're not, and what I say to all of my students, we are not creating content for the sake of creating content. Professor Sikor, did you want to add anything to that?
Not right now. I'm ready to,
Answer.
to meet new friends in Lagos in June.
Oh, I have one more question. They were asking, somebody has been watching your series. It said, why did you choose Gaius as a character example?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Well, especially that he's not a very famous figure, and but I love people who are not famous, but who so often in history are essential for the change. Usually Paul gets all the credit, but he wouldn't be able to do it without the support, the community, and those uh, almost so many anonymous people who were helping and who were behind him. Well, Gaius was one of these people, but he was essential and in achieving some of the goals that Paul had in Greece. So it's for me, it's all about everyday believers whose faith made the movement the possible. So what would we have today? They they build the foundations and in this little way, we're trying to pay a tribute to all those people as well, and at the same time uh, learn from them. So,
Thanks. The only thing I would like to add is, it really is about, um, everyday believers that helped move faith through movement. So characters like Gaius and Phoebe and others really showed that this is where the movement became possible. Let's
all
see,
right. So,
yeah,
shall
I
we?
think that's a good place to end because we were only supposed to go
Yeah.
30 minutes. We went a little longer.
Well, you know me, I can't stop talking normally. So that's why I need some time police. All right.
Yeah.
It was fun. Thank you, Kimberly. And until the next time, I guess.
Thanks everyone for joining us for what is the first in our series. Please make sure you follow us in the comments and please join the Christian Leader Global Impact Conference coming up on June 27th. We'll have global leaders from around the world participating. It's something you don't want to miss. Thanks everyone and God bless.